Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber will hear the testimony of witness Pno Yao. And Graffier, could you report the attendance of the parties and individuals to today's proceedings? Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to discuss are present. As for Noon Chi, he is present in the holding cell downstairs as he requests to waive his direct presence in the courtroom. His waiver has been delivered to the greffier, and the witness to testify today, that is Mr. Pno Yao, is already present in the courtroom. As for the reserve witness, that is through TCW 807, confirms that through his ability he has no relationship by blood or by law to any of the two accused, namely Khieu Sampon and Noon Chia, nor to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness will take an oath before the Iron Club statute this morning at 10 a.m. President, thank you, Mr. Chakraborty. The chamber now decides on the request by Noon Chia. The chamber has received a waiver of Mr. Noon Chia, dated 17 February 2015, who states that he has health condition that he cannot sit for long. He has backache, and in order to anticipate a future effective participation, he requires to be present in the courtroom for today's proceedings, that is 17 February 2015. Noon Chi has been informed by his counsel about the consequence of this waiver, that in no way it can be construed as a waiver of his right to be tried fairly or to challenge evidence presented or admitted to this court at any time during his trial. Having seen the medical record of the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC dated 17 February 2015, who notes that the health condition of Noon Chi is that he has backache and he will feel dizzy if he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall allow him to follow the proceedings from a holding cell downstairs. Based on this information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Noon Chi's request to follow the proceedings remotely from a holding cell downstairs. And that applies for today's proceedings. And as Noon Chi waives his direct presence in the courtroom, the AV unit you instructed to link the proceedings to the holding cell downstairs so that Noon Chi can follow it remotely. The chamber will now hand the floor to the co-prosecutors to put questions to the witness Pno Yao before other parties, and that is in pursuant to Rule 91 bis. The combined time for the prosecution and the lead co-lawyers for civil parties is for this entire morning session until the lunch break. You may now proceed.
Merci et bonjour.
Thank you and good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. Good morning to all parties and to the public attending. Good morning, Mr. Witness. My name is Vincent Deville. I will be asking you some questions on behalf of the Office of the Co-Prosecutors up until approximately 11 a.m., when the lawyers from the civil parties consolidated group will take their turn to ask you a few questions. First of all, I would like to address a few questions concerning your past before the 17th of April 1975. Up until which age did you attend school, and did you ever graduate or obtain a diploma?
I studied in Year 9 in the old education system.
Et cette année 9, ça correspond.
And in grade 9, how old were you? When did you leave school to begin farming?
When I quit schooling, I ordained as a monk.
Pardon, pourriez-vous...
Could you please specify how old were you approximately?
I became a monk when I was 18 years old.
Très bien.
Very well. You stated that you participated in the revolutionary movement. At which point in time did you participate?
I joined the revolutionary movement in 1970.
Merci.
Thank you. In your witness record of interview before the co-investigating judges, there is a document E3/5515, and in response number 2, you stated that the village chief, called Tazit, was taken for execution in 1972 and 1973. And then you went on to state that the chief of the commune, the old Kem, was executed in 1979. Can you please tell us why Tazit, the village chief, was taken for execution in 1972 or 1973?
Tazit had an issue with the commandos, as far as I know.
Vous voulez dire un...
Do you mean by that there was a problem of discipline or something else?
At that time, the commandos came to stay at his house, and of course he was the village chief. And I don't know, maybe it's for that reason that he was taken and killed.
D'accord.
Very well. Now, before April 1975, were the village cooperatives in operation? Do you know at which point in time they started to operate?
The cooperative started operational in 1975.
Là, vous voulez bien...
You talked about the cooperative in your village of Penmis in the province of Takeo. Is that exact.
Yes, I referred to the cooperative for my Panmihir village. It started its operations in 1975.
Très bien, j'en viens à la...
Very well. I want to move on to the ensuing period between 17 April 1975 and 1976. In 1976, you stated that there was a division within Samrong commune. There were 3 separate units, and I want to talk about the period of April 1975 up until the cooperatives were split in 3. As of when did you start to take your meals communally in a collective dining hall at the cooperative?
Communal dining started in 1975 and it continued until 1978.
Est-ce que cela commence?
Did it begin before the takeover of Phnom Penh or after?
It started after Phnom Penh had been liberated.
Comment le peuple...
How did the base people from your village, from Samrong, how did they react when they were told that the meals would be taken collectively? Was there agreement?
If we did not agree, then we might be taken away and killed, and for that reason nobody dared to make any protest.
Est-ce que en 1960...
In 1975, did you exercise the right to continue living in your house?
Yes, at that time we could live at our own house. We were not yet assigned to various units.
Et est-ce que vous aviez à ce moment...
And at the time, were you allowed to farm vegetables or fruit in the area surrounding your house?
As for fruits, we could not pick them. For example, coconut trees were considered for communal use, including cooking utilities or the cattle that we owned.
Vous avez mentionné...
You mentioned 1975 as the year at which you started taking your meals collectively. Was it also at that same point in time when private property had to be handed over to the community?
It was in 1975 when everything that we owned were gathered and put for communal use. There was no longer private ownership.
Did anyone dare protest the measure of taking their meals collectively? Or did anyone come out and say that it was not a good idea?
No, nobody dared to protest. Because if we dare to protest, it means we would disappear.
À part la...
Aside from collective meals and abolition of private property, were there other changes that affected your living conditions during this period? Comparatively speaking to the previous period. For example, with respect to discipline, were there certain things that you had to do and certain things that were totally forbidden?
After Phnom Penh fell and every private ownership became communal, we were not allowed to do anything on our own. For example, to go and find frog or to go fishing. And if we were to do that, then whatever we caught would have to be put for communal consumption.
And from that point in time, was the denouncing of all offenses committed in the village something that was fostered and encouraged by the Khmer Rouge?
No, there was no encouragement to make any report.
De quoi?
What were you afraid of in the event that orders were not obeyed or if discipline was not respected? You said earlier that people were taken for execution. What was the basis for the fear?
We lived in fear during that regime. We were afraid that we would make a mistake, because if we made a mistake, then we would be taken away and killed.
Est-ce que vous avez...
Did you ever see anyone being taken away or anyone disappear for failing to respect discipline at the time?
At the location where I lived, it rarely happened, or probably I didn't see them. I was ordered to plow the field or to carry earth or to engage in growing vegetable, and I didn't see many of these things.
I would like to talk to you about the evacuation of villages in your commune in Samrong. In response number 5 in the written record of witness interview E3/5515, you said that people were taken from Phnom Penh and that the evacuated people reached the village and their families placed in schools. And then answer number 6, you stated that soon after the new people arrived, they had them live in handicraft workshops or schools. Can you please tell us if the evacuees of Phnom Penh were constituted a very large population? Do you know exactly, approximately how many families there were?
In my village, there were not many families of those people. There were about only 10 families who were evacuated from Phnom Penh. Those people had been placed in various other villages within the commune.
Est-ce qu'il y avait également...
Were there also evacuees who came from Takeo?
Yes, there were some people who were evacuated from Takeo, and my neighbors in the village also had their relatives evacuated from Takeo.
Pourriez-vous nous dire dans quel...
Can you please tell us what physical condition they arrived in, the evacuees from Phnom Penh or Takeo? In what kind of state were they in?
When they arrived, they were in normal health condition, and they were instructed to build a dam called Dong Sap Dam.
Vous avez dit qu'il y avait
You stated that there were members from the village whose family members had been evacuated from Takeo. How were the evacuees from Phnom Penh and the evacuees from Takeo considered? Were they natives of your village? Were they considered base people, or were they considered new people, or were they considered April 17 people?
They were considered new people, and they were also considered depositees.
Merci. Est-ce qu'elle aura
Thank you. What happened to their personal belongings? What happened to the personal belongings of the April 17 people, or the new people? Were those goods placed for the use of the commune and the community?
The belongings of those people, including jewelry, to me it seems that they were not taken from them.
Mais vos biens
But all of your own belongings, all of your property had been confiscated. Was that not the case for the April 17 people, or was it just not the case immediately?
I didn't know about that because I was busy in working in the rice fields.
Merci.
Thank you. Now, during that same period, and you stated in your PV E35515 in response number 9 that children had to collect cow dung, and apart from collecting cow dung, they had them study 2 or 3 hours per day, and after class they tended cows until 5 p.m. until they were given a meal. And in question number 10, what did they have young children study? And in your response, you stated that they had children study Khmer alphabet and taught how to spell. Can you please tell us as of when you were given the responsibility to teach young children the alphabet and how to spell?
It happened in 1976 that when I was transferred to live at Ong Ponarie, and that was the time that I was asked to teach children.
Donc quand vous parlez des enfants,
So when you talk about children, you're referring to children who were base people, or does that also include the April 17 children?
The children whom I taught were children of all the best people, and they were not the children of the new people.
à l'époque, est-ce que
And during that period, what qualified you to teach? Did you have any training or credentials to teach children to read the alphabet and teach them how to spell?
I was asked to teach the children, that is the Khmer alphabet, and to teach them how to spell. And I was given an instruction book or guidebook to assist me in teaching them.
Ok, pour en revenir.
Just to return to the topic of families evacuated from Phnom Penh and Takeo, when they arrived at the village, you stated that they were placed in a school. Were those families forced to build their own dwellings and accommodation, or were they given housing?
They didn't build any new houses for them. Those new people were then divided in they were put into a group called the third unit, or Kong Bay in Khmer.
We will get back to this third unit later on. When they arrived, do you know if the new people families were obliged to write their biographies?
Answer. No biography were taken at the beginning. They were sent to the village, and the village chief knew about that, but they didn't start any biography recording at the beginning.
And you say at the beginning, does that mean that later on they were questioned about their past?
Witness. Yes, I don't know whether the village chief asked them for biography, but they were sent to a school, a primary school building in the middle of the village.
Do you know if the cadres in the village or in the commune were looking for a former servicemen of the Lon Nol regime, as well as officials from the Lon Nol regime among the 17 April people?
Witness. Mr. President, could you advise the council to ask the question again, because I don't understand his question.
No problem. I was asking you if you knew if back then the village or commune cadres were looking for former servicemen or former officials of the Lon Nol regime among the 17 April people in the village. Were they looking for people who had worked in the cities under the Lon Nol regime?
Witness, yes. I would like to tell you that no question asked. They were put there, and 10 family of people put at the village, and later they were sent to Unit 3, and after the unit was formed, they were all sent to that Unit 3.
Thank you. We will get back to the different units 1, 2, and 3 a bit later on. Simply to finish with this period between April 75 and 1976, you said that you started teaching children how to read as of 1976, and that before that you had performed physical labor. that you had to carry earth in particular. So did you have to fulfill a quota per day? How many cubic meters were you obliged to transport per day of earth?
Witness. There was no specific quota for that, but the work would start from 6 a.m. and we would have a lunch break at 11:30 that we need to go back to the communal kitchen for lunch.
And in the afternoon, you would work up until which time? And sometimes did you work in the evenings or at night?
Response. We would start from 2 until 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Evening work was not very often. So some other people in the unit were also assigned for evening labor.
And back then, when you performed that kind of labor, were you allowed to talk about the orders? Were you allowed to complain? Were you allowed to discuss the instructions you were receiving?
Response. We cannot make any complaint because the chief our chiefs were supervising us. If anyone complained, he or she was called to give the warning or a blame for that.
Fine. Now I will turn to the following period. I have maybe a bit ahead of time with regard to this line of questioning, but now we're going to be speaking about the cooperative units, that is, say, units 1, 2, and 3 that were set up in Samrong commune. And as an introduction, I'm going to read out what you said regarding this in your written record at answer 12. This is E3 5515. This is what you said. In 1976, they divided people to live in the cooperatives. In Samrong commune, there were 3 cooperatives. The division of the cooperatives referred to type 1 people. The first category was called Unit 1. These were base people. The old people who enjoyed full rights, they were based in Ang Ponarei village. Type 2 people, or Unit 2, were also base people, candidate people, but they had relatives who were linked or had tendencies with the enemy. It was located in Penmias village. As for Type 3, or Unit 3, there were people evacuated from Phnom Penh. They were also called 17 April people. They were located in the village of Tat Saum. And you told us that this happened in 1976. Do you remember if it was at the beginning of the year, or in the middle of 1976, or towards the end of 1976?
Response. The evacuation of the people to Ang Ponarei in early 1976.
did you learn or were you told who had decided to divide the people in Samrang commune into 3 distinct categories, and if so, on the basis of which criteria?
Response: I don't know about that, but on that day, you should go to stay in Angponari in Unit 1, and other people should be in Unit 2. So there's a kind of exchange of people from one unit to another. I don't know who made the decision for that.
So if I understood well, you had to leave your village of Penmia because they were working in Unit 2, and you went to Angponari village. Where did you stay in Angponari?
Response: I was living to the west of the pagoda. I was staying with children unit 1.
If I understood well, you were staying there because you were a teacher, not because you were a child. Is that correct?
Response: at the time, I was assigned to take care the children, advise them to collect cow dung, and also teach them alphabets and vowel, and to supervise those children when they are tendering cattle and so on.
And you said, with regard to the second category, that is to say Unit 2, that these were base people, but base people who had relatives who are on the enemy's side, or who had affinities with the enemy. Who was the enemy back then? Was this an outside enemy, or was this an enemy from within? Did people speak to you about this enemy during meetings, or were you able to talk about this with cadres?
Answer: they are not talking about the internal or external enemies, but their selection into a unit for doing labor. Those who were in Unit 1 were considered to be strong people who can work fast, and people who were in Unit 2 who were not very strong in doing work. And the same is true for Unit 3, and Unit 3 comprising of people evacuated from Phnom Penh. They were called 17 April people, and the people in the middle was assigned into Unit 2. This is not based on any affiliation to enemy or any reasons like that.
Do you know if this division into 3 categories of people within Samrong commune existed in the other surrounding communes in Tramkak district, such as Kus commune, Trapen commune, Trapeng Tom commune, Srai Ronong or Ching Tom communes. Did you find out if there was a similar system in those other communes?
Witness. The division of two categories, I don't know about that because everyone had to stay in his or her place. Freedom movement is prohibited. I was always in Ang Ponari and to supervise children collecting cow dung and doing other labor. Anyone who violated the rule would be punished, including the base people.
And back then, did you hear the Khmer Rouge cadres of the village or the cooperative of Unit 1 speak about pure people and people who were sullied? Are these concepts that you heard?
Witness, I heard about that the pure people and anyone who was considered wealthy was sent to the southern part, and other who is not wealthy was sent to Pan Mias village. And anyone who were considered as rather wealthy and good conduct was sent or included into a candidate people unit.
I didn't understand your distinction between pure and impure very well. You said that you heard about this concept. Were the people in Unit 1 to which you belonged, that is to say the full rights-based people, were considered as pure people or rather as impure people?
Response: the full rights people were selected from those who were correct, who were right for their standard, and then sent to a unit in which they are belonged.
Were you told what the expression full rights old people means in contrast with candidate? What was the distinction made between both categories?
Witness: there was an explanation for that. Those who were candidate people, they allow them times to be checked, and later they can be, or they may be, a full rights people for that purpose.
Based on what you learned, what was the category considered the best or the purest among the three? Which unit, because that was the best or the purest, since we're speaking about units 1, 2, and 3?
Answer: as far as I know, the selection of people to be in Unit 1. Unit 1 is the purest, and Unit 2 is the purer, and Unit 3 is the lowest in category of people.
Did it ever happen that people in Unit 1 who were working in Anpanari with you were taken out of Unit 1 and sent to Unit 2 in Pingmias?
Witness, no, this did not happen because they were selected from the beginning for sending into those units. So they would keep those people in those units within their category.
Do you know if there was a distinction between the discipline within Unit 1, which was considered the purest, and within Unit 2, which was considered less pure? For example, were the working conditions or was the discipline harsher in Unit 2 than in Unit 1?
Answer. In fact, the disciplines were the same, but talking about doing work, Unit 1 work more efficient, for example, and they could finish labor or quota faster than Unit 2.
Fine. Did it ever happen during this period that someone belonging to Unit 3, that is to say, a new person, was promoted thanks to his work to Unit 2 or to Unit 1?
Answer. There was no one was sent from Unit 3 to Unit 2 or Unit 1, but there was a kind of preparation for that purpose, but as far as I saw, there was no case happen in that respect.
You're speaking about Units 1, 2, and 3, and in Khmer, did they speak about K1, K2, K3, or I am completely mistaken?
Witness, yes, they were called in Khmer Kong Mui, Kong Pi, Kong Bay in Khmer, but Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. Another term used was the full right unit, the candidate unit people, and the depository unit people.
Now, with regard to the living and working conditions in Unit 1, I'm simply going to read out to you an excerpt from your written record, E3/5515. At answer 15, you said that each cooperative is made up of different units, that is to say, a special unit, a plowing unit, men, a canal digging unit, a seedling transplanting unit, women, a cart unit, a sawing unit, a children's unit, boys and girls, and a unit of grouped children. At answer 16, you say, after harvesting paddy, it was taken to place in the commune office. Every morning, someone from the kitchen unit would go to the commune to take the rice ratio, as well as to take the dried fish, fresh fish, salt for the daily meals. End of quote, free translation. Do you know if all of the threshed rice in Samrong commune was shared among the 3 units, or if part of the rice sent to the higher echelon?
Answer. Paddies, after harvesting, were kept for Samrong commune, and some were sent to the upper echelon, and rice paddy were stored for the consumption of Unit 1, 2, and 3, and the surplus would be sent to the upper echelon.
I'm a little bit surprised. When I read your answer 16, you said that everything was shared among all the communes, and you mention, or you say that there was rice, vegetables, salted fish, fresh fish, meat, salt. And do you know exactly what the people in Units 2 and 3 ate?
Witness, Unit 2 and Unit 3 receive the rice from the commune office, and they would come every morning to collect rice for their meals.
En ce qui concerne les
And with regard to the workers in Unit 1, did they have enough to eat between 76 and 1979 with respect to the work that was required from the base people?
Answer. The people in Unit 1 would receive a plate full of rice and a large bowl of soup for 8 people per meal.
Donc, si je...
So if I understood well, you did not speak about meat or fresh fish. Did you eat meat or did you eat fresh fish every day, on a regular basis, or rarely?
Answer. There was some fresh fish with the morning glory soup, and people were assigned to work in a fishing unit. They can collect fish for our soup.
I'm going to read out what you said in answer 22 in your written record of interview. They gave us 2 meals a day, in the morning and the afternoon. Food was not enough to eat, both for the others and me. They gave us a plate of rice, and there was a large dish of morning glory soup placed in the middle. In a period of 10 days, they allowed us, they would slaughter an ox for us to eat. So here you say that you did not have enough to eat. However, you told us that you were part of the best unit, the purest unit, that you were base people enjoying full rights. So therefore, why didn't you get enough to eat?
Answer. Talking about meals, it was similar for the three units, Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 3. So people in Unit 1 were assigned to do urgent work or fast work, but they receive a certain amount of food which is greater than other people in Unit 2 and Unit 3.
And with regard to units 2 and 3, therefore, who were located in other communes, Pygmies and Tassom, did you have the opportunity to travel to the eateries in these units in order to see what they were eating?
Answer: I never went to their dining place, so I would always stay at Ang Ponnerie. I have never been to Ang Tassaum because movement was prohibited during the regime.
Donc quand vous parlez
When you're speaking about what you ate, in fact you did not have enough to eat, and you're really referring to Unit 1 in particular, and you were not really aware of what was happening in Units 2 and 3. Is that correct?
Answer: yes, it is correct. I don't know what they had in Unit 2 and 3 because I have never witnessed their meals or the dining hall when they were eating.
très bien, monsieur le témoin.
Very well. Mr. Witness, if you don't know something, I would kindly ask that you just state that you do not know. Now, in Unit 1, did people ever complain about the lack of food?
Yes, sometimes we complain, but we complained without letting the unit chief knew that we complained. If he knew, he would re-educate us, although he would not send us to be killed.
Je voudrais vous lire.
I'd like to read out what you said in respect to Ta Vinh in response number 21 of your written record of witness interview E3/5515. You stated as follows: in my unit, a person named Ta Vinh from the cart unit was arrested and taken to Kang Tachan office. He was accused of having an argument about not having enough to eat. When he talked about it, someone reported to the upper echelon, and eventually he was arrested. The chairman of the cart unit, named Lak Ting, was in Sat Tme village. Do you recall that episode? Do you recall the episode when Ta Vinh was arrested and taken to Kang Tachan because he was complaining about not having enough to eat?
I cannot recall the details, but I can only recall that Ta Vinh was taken to Krang Tachan after he had been arrested.
Saviez-vous
At the time, did you know what Kang Tachan was being used for? What did you hear about Kang Tachan?
We were not allowed to know what happened at Krang Tachan. We only heard that it was a detention center and we were not allowed about whether people had been killed at the Krang Tachan.
Mais comment est-ce qu'on...
How did you learn that Ta Vin was specifically taken to Krang Tachan and not somewhere else? Who told you that?
I was told that the Tavan was sent to Krang Tachan, and the person who told me was a member of the CAD unit, and that was the only place that they usually send people to.
Vous avez...
In your PV, you also talk about Krang Tachan on another occasion in relation to what you said about marriage. In response number 32, you said if a couple did not get on well, it was known by the hierarchy, and the next morning they would be called to be re-educated. The couple would be threatened to be taken to a place, for example, such as Krang Tachan. You stated that you only knew that Krang Tachan was a detention center. But here, you talk about people being threatened to be sent to Krang Tachan. You never heard from the cadres directly or other colleagues exactly what happened at Krang Tachan?
They also talked about Krang Tachan as a detention center, but personally I was not aware whether people had been killed at Krang Tachan.
Pour en revenir à...
To return to the topic of Ta Vin and when he was arrested, do you recall in which year and during which part of the year he was arrested?
Tavan was arrested in mid 1976, or rather, it was in late 1976. As I recalled, I began teaching children in late 1976. And I met him during that time. Also, I met Tateng.
Très bien, je voudrais...
Mr. Witness, I would like to read a segment from a document. From document E3/4084. The copy in Khmer is not a very good quality one. This is a summary of a committee meeting of TAPEM from 13 May 1977. It reads as follows, and I quote, TAPEM Commune, Tramkok District, Summary. A report to respected Angkar. On 7 May 1977, a man named But Vin, B-U-T, new word V-I-N, a new person who was a combatant in Srei Chamra village, Samrang sub-district, propagandized people from Kampuchea Krom who were living in Samrang village. Residing in Tapem sub-district. So propagandizing people from Kampuchea Krom who were living in Samrang village Angkor did not meet people from Kampuchea Krom who live in Tapem sub-district. And on the case file, there's another document, D156.55, a document that was also produced on the 7th of May 1977 from a comrade in the commune of Chamorong who wrote, "I would ask that you arrest But Vin and report him to the police pursuant to the present letter." Mr. Witness, this is a document that you've never laid eyes on concerning a person who was arrested. The person is called But Vin. The person was arrested on the 13th of May 1977. Was this But Vin, who was referred to in the document, is or could be the same person as Ta Vin, or do you think these are two different individuals?
I only know Ta Vin, but I am not familiar with another person with the name that you just read out to me.
Très bien. Toujours.
Very well. Within Unit 1, where you worked, did you ever have to attend self-criticism or criticism meetings? And if so, what exactly occurred?
In Unit 1, we seldom attended I seldom attended the meetings, as I was given the responsibility to take charge or to take care of the children. For other subunits, for example, the plowing unit or the transplanting unit or the kitchen unit, usually they held meetings rather frequently.
Vous avez tout de même
Nevertheless, you said that in answer number 29 that you actually participated in meetings, and that was the commune chief who presided over the meetings. During these large meetings held under the stewardship of the chief, Takem, were the April 17 people invited to those meetings?
No, they were not, because the meetings were held in the cooperative, in our respective units. For example, at Unit 1, the meeting was held exclusively for members of Unit 1, and that applies to Unit 2 and Unit 3 respectively.
durant ces grandes
And during those large meetings, chaired by the commune chief, was there ever any discussion regarding enemies? Did you ever hear about increased fighting at the Vietnamese border? Did you ever hear about the Yun enemies?
At that time, they did not speak about this matter or told the people about these matters. Some of us heard about it, but we did not dare to talk about it, as we were afraid we would be taken away and killed. And our unit chief also did not tell us about that. The meeting mainly focused on the work that we were assigned to do. For example, to work faster or to transplant rice seedlings faster. They did not talk anything about the Yun. President, thank you, the Deputy Co-Prosecutor. The time is appropriate for a short break. We will take a break now and return at 10:30. Court officer, please assist the witness during the break and have him return to the courtroom at 10:30. The court is now in recess.